The female disciple of the Qingyun Dao sect possessed a truly majestic figure, her chest so ample it seemed larger than her head. She squinted her eyes with a smile and waved a greeting. Seeing her playfulness, Su Changyu reminded her with a hint of displeasure. "Little junior sister, you're peeping again." The female disciple hopped down from a rock with excitement and ran over, exclaiming, "Hee hee, I was just curious." Suddenly, a domineering thought sprouted in Su Changyu's mind. He was ecstatic to have found a guinea pig, and decided to use her to test his effect. Striking an unfathomable pose with his hands behind his back, he spoke solemnly, "Junior sister, let us not speak of that for now," he said. Leaving her confused, Su Changyu's expression turned stern, his gaze sharp as he raised a single finger. "Senior brother asks you, do you know the power of the highest realm of the sword Dao?" The question stunned the female disciple. She clasped her hands nervously and stammered. She thought to herself, what does the sword Dao have to do with me? Why so serious all of a sudden? Then she heard Su Changyu add, "Let me tell you what the highest realm of the sword Dao truly is." She stood bolt upright, listening obediently as he pointed toward the Milky Way in the vast universe and declared, "A single blade of grass can sever the sun, moon and stars." As soon as he finished, the female disciple's mouth hung open in shock. She found Su Changyu even more handsome than before and was filled with admiration. Then, breaking into a cold sweat, she asked, "Eldest senior brother, that was so cool. Has your ability to act the part improved again?" He immediately struck a pose of hidden victory, covering his face and laughing. "Haha, you bet, it was cool, right?" After her flattery, the female disciple abruptly changed the subject. "Now you should answer my question." This left Su Changyu slightly puzzled. "Your question?" He turned his head toward the distant mountain peak, repeating with feigned depth, "How long will it take junior brother to comprehend sword intent?" But in the next second, Su Changyu was picking his nose, his expression looking as if he had stepped in filth. How could he possibly comprehend it? "Even I don't know the answer to that," she defended her point. "I meant just ordinary sword intent." He let out a long sigh and replied that he didn't know that either. The female disciple's face went dark, her mind filled with question marks. "Are you playing with me?" she thought resentfully. 2 hours later, at the summit of the rear mountain, Yi Ping was still sprawled in front of the sword mark Su Changyu had left behind. He stared at it intensely, like a scientist observing bacteria through a microscope, drenched in sweat and eyes rolling back. Yi Ping still had no results, he whispered to himself, questioning his life choices. No matter how he looked at it, it was just an ordinary crack. Where is this strongest sword intent? Is he lying to me? Suddenly he squeezed his eyes shut and scratched his head in frustration, shouting out in grievance, "Yi Ping, what are you overthinking? Everything before has proven that he is definitely a supreme master." At this thought he pressed his face against the sword mark again. His eyes sparkling, he roared with determination, "It must be because I'm not working hard enough." His eyes widened so much they looked like they might pop out as he focused even more deeply on the crevice. Yes, that must be it. Now his eyes saw only the light emanating from the deep groove on the ground. Everything else was pitch black. He encouraged himself, "Go Yi Ping, keep going," until his eyes were bloodshot. He suddenly saw the silhouette of a swordsman radiating blue spiritual energy. An image manifested in Yi Ping's mind. The swordsman stood with his back to him, spiritual energy rippling out from beneath his feet like waves on a pond. The figure held a long sword that glowed with a light as fierce as a thunderbolt from a clear sky, appearing exceptionally majestic. Then the swordsman began to demonstrate techniques. He gripped the hilt with both hands, drawing the sword to his side to gather power. Suddenly he leaped and flipped through the air, his gaze as sharp as fire. The swordsman turned and delivered a swift strike accompanied by the crackle of lightning. With glowing eyes he held the sword in one hand and unleashed another move. Then the swordsman leaped high. Tucking his legs into a pose like a goshawk diving for prey, he slashed out a half-moon sword shadow that resonated like the tolling of a great bell. These 4 sword styles, 12 sword moves became increasingly clear in Yi Ping's astonishment. In his eyes the figure constantly shifted. With one strike the world lost its color, and gods and ghosts alike were startled. At other times, sword shadows layered upon each other, cold light flickering with chilling, killing intent. The more he watched, the more Yi Ping became immersed in this martial secret, unable to look away. Then, as if he were personally drawing a blade to practice, he held a hilt in one hand and supported the blade with the other, using spiritual energy to make it glow with golden light and flying sparks. He didn't practice it once, but over and over again. Yi Ping followed the swordsman's demonstration, swinging his sword to the side while counting in his heart. One time, when he reached the second repetition, he used his left foot as a pivot, standing firm as he swung a Z-shaped sword path. Simultaneously, sword shadows flashed across the sky. Then came the third time. Yi Ping took a step back, turned, and unleashed dozens of arched sword shadows. With a sharp gaze, he focused on swinging the sword with his left hand, mumbling to himself as he moved faster and faster. After a while, Yi Ping's sword shadows were no longer simple beams of light but had formed jagged patterns with even greater destructive power. He gasped. The moves were increasing. 12 moves. 15 moves. He didn't stop at 20. Yi Ping had practiced to a realm where his movements were ethereal and his sword blooms were dazzling. nearly identical to the swordsman in his vision. Finally, a terrifying consciousness flooded his mind as if dozens of Yi Pings were simultaneously piercing a single point in his brain with their swords. As the sun rose from behind the mountain peak, Yi Ping straightened up, his eyes wide with bewilderment. What on earth is happening? His face turned pale, cold sweat poured down, and his pupils contracted as he deduced it must be eldest senior brother. Recalling the breath of fortuitous opportunity Su Changyu had casually conjured, Yi Ping felt a surge of emotion. I never expected that a single breeze could actually raise my talent to such a terrifying level. He isn't just a peerless master, he's much more. Overwhelmed, he couldn't help but burst into tears. After being unlucky for so long, his fortune had finally turned. I actually doubted eldest senior brother earlier. I really shouldn't have. Without stopping, Yi Ping propped himself up with his hands, staring at the sword mark on the stone. He silently soothed himself. Don't get excited, Yi Ping. Stay calm, stay calm. This is only the beginning. This sword mark can surely teach me even more techniques. Keep working. Time flew by, and 7 days later at the eldest senior brother's residence, a manor situated at the peak of a high mountain, Su Changyu took out a box of treasures he used for keeping up appearances. It was filled with accessories, and he was carefully choosing between them. He picked up a hairpin, scratching his head as he considered if it was suitable for such a momentous day. Then he donned a pure white cloak he had scammed from somewhere, his eyes full of anticipation. Su Changyu hummed a little tune. The weather is lovely today. He flicked the hem of his robe and stepped out, adding time to go look cool. Setting off, Su Changyu strolled leisurely across the wooden bridge spanning the creek, humming incessantly. But by the time he climbed to a certain set of stairs halfway up the mountain, he was panting and drenched in sweat, his refined image long gone. He lamented, "This is killing me. If I'd known, I would have picked a different spot." Su Changyu's face was dark with annoyance, and he vented his anger on others. Then again, why does everyone think practicing the sword is easy? It's so frustrating. He recalled 7 days ago when that gossip-loving junior sister had asked him, "What, you're saying even you don't know sword intent?" To this, Su Changyu had frankly admitted, "That's right." Hearing this, she didn't hide her laughter, covering her mouth and insulting him to his face. "Peeved senior brother, you're too much of a loser. Haven't you been practicing the sword for 10 years? How do you not even know sword intent?" As soon as the words left her mouth, Su Changyu launched a physical attack, giving her a sharp rap on the head. He scolded, "Loser? HMPH, if you don't understand, don't talk nonsense, okay? The sword Dao isn't that easy." The female disciple saw stars from the blow and cried out, "Ouch, that hurts." Su Changyu then imagined those warriors standing atop heavenly thunder pillars to preach their truths. The 4 lightning sword technique your senior brother practices is no loser technique. It's one of the top 10 techniques in Qingzhou. Back then, the Taoist of 4 seasons became famous throughout Qingzhou with this very set, visualizing the image of 4 dragons, golden, azure, fire and green, soaring into the clouds together. He continued, "This is a technique of ultimate yang and rigidity, divided into the 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter. If one can master all 4, they can even summon the heavenly lightning of the 4 seasons." Su Changyu arched his eyebrows and squinted, adopting the persona of a learned Taoist. And each stage of the sword technique is divided into 4 minor realms: initial, proficient, great success, consummate, and finally the pinnacle. As he spoke, the female disciple followed up with interest. "That sounds really powerful. So which level are you at now, senior brother?" Su Changyu tilted his head back, looking smug. "I have already mastered the spring lightning sword, which consists of 18 sword moves." To his surprise, his junior sister looked unimpressed. "Ah, just spring lightning, and only 18 moves?" Su Changyu's face turned bright red with rage. He roared, "What do you mean just spring lightning? There are only 4 major realms in total. My progress would be considered exceptional anywhere in Qingzhou." The exceptional me. Then a progress chart of the 4 lightning sword technique appeared in his mind. Starting from himself, the spring lightning sword had reached 2 stars. The paths to the locked unawakened skills included the summer lightning sword, autumn lightning sword, winter lightning sword, and a hidden treasure of secret techniques. Su Changyu spoke incessantly. "It only took me 10 years to reach the proficient stage. I'll definitely reach great success in less than 10 more, and the pinnacle within 100 years. He stared into her face with bloodshot eyes and lowered his voice. "Do you have any idea how strong I'll be then?" Scared into avoiding his gaze, she replied. "I understand, eldest senior brother." Then the female disciple asked with genuine curiosity, "What if junior brother manages to comprehend sword intent on his own? What level of talent would that make him?" This gave Su Changyu a jolt of surprise and confusion. Soon he burst into loud laughter, hands on his hips with a look of disdain. "Ha ha, sword intent, junior sister, you really have a wild imagination." Su Changyu recalled the long sword that radiated dazzling golden light, a force so impactful that countless people couldn't even get close. He explained, "In the sword Dao, sword techniques are only secondary. What truly matters is sword intent. The stronger the sword intent, the more any technique can turn the mundane into the miraculous. Even a casual thrust becomes terrifyingly powerful." He imagined a cultivator standing atop a high mountain, sword intent erupting in all directions, forcing everyone below to look up in awe. He continued, The three great chasms of sword intent are as difficult to cross as ascending to heaven. The first stage is endless sword intent. In all the 10 kingdoms, only one powerhouse has managed to even get half a foot through that door. He is known as the Sword Venerable Taishu, an honored guest of the 10 kingdoms. Hearing this, the little junior sister puffed out her cheeks and persisted. I'm saying what if he actually comprehends it? What level would that be? Su Changyu pointed a finger toward the sky, his expression turning cold. A cold smirk played on his lips as he said, utterly impossible. Never mind, junior brother, even the greatest genius Qingzhou has seen in 500 years couldn't comprehend endless sword intent. At that moment, Su Changyu was laboriously climbing the steps to the mountain summit. Before he even saw the boy, his eyebrows twitched in doubt. I'm here. I wonder if junior brother is even awake yet. However, seeing the other boy kneeling on the ground supporting himself with his hands while pressing his face against the sword mark, Su Changyu was struck with a sudden shock. In his eyes, Yi Bing was staring with massive dark circles under his eyes, fixated on the sword mark he had casually left 7 days ago. This display of willpower made Su Changyu's face turn pale. Cold sweat trickled down as he thought in a panic, holy crap, what's going on? How long has he gone without sleep to get dark circles like that? Looking at Yi Ping's wide, unblinking eyes, he guessed privately, did this guy really stare at this sword mark for an entire week? That thing was just a lie to trick you. Su Changyu tilted his head, feeling dizzy with self-reproach. This makes me look like even less of a human being. What should I do? The guilt is too heavy. After standing there for a long time watching Yi Ping, he felt a wave of pity. Poor kid. For the sake of the sect, I can only let you suffer. I'll work hard to make it up to you later. Suddenly, he heard a gasp. Yi Ping looked up, greeting Su Changyu with his lifeless panda eyes. Eldest senior brother, you're here? Su Changyu, going into full acting mode, immediately adjusted his pose to show off his perfect profile. He asked, how far have you progressed in your practice? Yi Bim stood up, staggering toward him, and answered with a foolish grin, I've comprehended it. It's all thanks to the opportunity you granted me, senior brother. However, before Yi Ping could finish, Su Changyu consoled him. Don't be discouraged. It's normal for an ordinary person to fail to comprehend it. After saying that, he froze, looking baffled. With a face contorted like a monkey eating ginger, he blurted out, wait a minute, what did you just say? You comprehended it? Yi Ping's face was flushed with excitement. He cupped his hands in a respectful bow and confirmed with his head lowered. Yes, eldest senior brother, including this morning I have comprehended a total of 400 sword moves. Su Changyu stared at him with flickering eyes, saying nothing as if processing Yi Ping's words. Inside, however, he was rolling on the floor laughing. He pointed at him mentally with disdain. 400 moves, do you think I've never practiced the sword? I just scratched that mark out randomly. Do you think I don't know what's in it? Su Changyu crossed his arms and exhaled, thinking with utter disbelief, this is going to be the death of me. However, seeing this, Yi Ping was bewildered. What does eldest senior brother's cold sneer mean? It felt like a fatal blow to him. Breaking into a cold sweat, he frowned and began to fill in the blanks himself. Is he laughing because I comprehended too few? 400 moves a day really isn't much, is it? I see. For a master like eldest senior brother, the techniques he possesses must number at least in the tens of thousands. The demon in Yi Ping's mind appeared again, deducing deeply. With personal instruction of ready-made knowledge plus the great opportunity he gave me before, anyone with even a bit of talent would surely comprehend thousands of moves a day. The more he thought, the more discouraged he became. 2 streaks of tears fell as he cried out in grievance. Sigh, it's all because I'm too useless. Suddenly, Su Changyu spoke up with a kind smile to encourage him. There's no need to lie. This sword technique is profound. It's normal to not comprehend it fully. I would never look down on you for that, however, Yi Ping stated with absolute certainty. I'm not lying. It really is 400 moves. This ignited a spark of anger in Su Changyu. His brow furrowed as he cursed inwardly. Just stop it already. No one likes someone who has no skill but insists on acting tough. Meanwhile, in Yi Ping's eyes, his eldest senior brother appeared exceptionally terrifying. He thought, trembling with fear, does senior brother think I'm unworthy of comprehending these 400 sword moves? Yi Ping then twisted his fingers nervously, squinting as he tried to explain. Although my talent is mediocre, didn't I have the fortuitous opportunity you bestowed upon me earlier, senior brother? While 400 moves aren't many, I was still able to comprehend them. These words caused an uncomfortable black aura to emanate from Su Changyu. 400 moves aren't many, yet another person who looks down upon the way of the sword. At this moment, Su Changyu was truly starting to get angry. Although he wasn't a top-tier powerhouse, he had experienced plenty of the hardships common to ordinary people during his growth. Whether intentional or not, being mocked for slow progress was something that would make anyone feel uneasy. Radiating an unconcealed chill, he arched an eyebrow and spoke. Fine. Since that's the case, demonstrate the sword moves you've comprehended for me. He secretly decided that he had to teach the boy a lesson. It would be for the good of the youth's development. However, Yi Ping shouted yes without a moment's hesitation, which only served to irritate Su Changyu further. He thought to himself. He actually dared to agree? He's really going to be stubborn to the bitter end. It's going to be hard to save face in a moment, take it as advice from a master of posturing. A moment later, the two stood atop a mountain peak, with rolling ranges stretching into the distance. Yi Ping lowered his stance, closing his eyes as he gathered golden spiritual energy into the long sword in his hand. Then he raised it vertically before him, a flash of golden light crossing both his eyes simultaneously. Yi Ping swiftly delivered a horizontal slash. The spiritual energy illuminated the surroundings. With golden light swirling in his eyes, he demonstrated what he had learned with a solemn expression. Every sword style he unleashed was accompanied by flickering sparks. The sword technique Yi Ping performed was incredibly fast, flowing like moving clouds and running water. His cold, cyan eyes were locked onto the space ahead. In the blink of an eye he had already executed 36 styles. Each move was crisp and decisive, the sword momentum surging like a tide, his form following the blade like a shadow. A sharp killing intent was laid bare before Su Changyu. Su Changyu's face was grim as he silently watched Yi Ping's footwork and his sword hand. He clenched his fists, his gaze never leaving Yi Ping's dance for a second. Even the whistling wind in his ears couldn't make him blink. In reality, Su Changyu's heart had already turned to cold ashes. He didn't even bother to wipe the snot running from his nose, standing there dazed like a stunned goose. This episode ends here. Everyone, remember to follow the channel and look forward to the next episode.